welcome to Inner Whispers. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Incidental Tarot by Holly DeFount. This is a beautiful self-published deck which has the traditional 78 cards plus 2 additional major cards. I find these cards very beautiful. They're done in quite vibrant colours. And as you can see, there are multiple borders, which some people won't like, but which I think frame them very nicely. You can see the backs are fully reversible. And there's a lot of symbolism in these cards, a lot of vibrant colour, a lot of warmth. They have a very homey feeling to them for me. There are quite a few variations on traditional card names and content. For example, here we have cathedral instead of pope or the Hierophant. I think this works very nicely for this major. I see here, for example, in the more negative side, something which is very rigid, authoritarian. It's an imposing structure, crushing weight. However, on the more positive side of it, I think about the fact that it would take a lot of faith, a lot of belief to have the desire to create something like that. It also speaks of people coming together to create together something which they believe is of value. And it also speaks to the traditional idea of knowledge and learning, in the sense that a cathedral doesn't appear overnight. It takes a lot of previous experience with building materials and architecture and so forth. So I think it's a card that works very well and has perhaps less of the institutional feel than traditional Hierophant cards. The Lover's card is warm and welcoming. And we have some very interesting cards as well, such as the Griffin for strength. Instead of the Hermit, we have a blue Buddha, and there's quite a lot of different faith systems described in these cards. For example, here for the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Triskelion, which gives a real sense of movement, of growth, positivity, the spirals of nature and of life, and of course a very pagan feel to it. As I say, quite a number of the cards are renamed, such as Eclipse here instead of the Hanged Man. An interesting take on the card. What comes from the earth returns to the earth. Temperance has been renamed Polarity. And we have the Chimera for the Devil. The Tower is given a very positive slant with the Phoenix. And we have the Grail for hope and the Star. The Moon is renamed into French La Lune, but still has a lot of the traditional symbolism, though I like the way that it's a rising moon that we see. And joy and happiness abound in the sun. Judgment is also renamed Awakening. And the World holds a very subtle dancer figure. The 2 extra cards, which Holly sees as being very positive, but which I think could be interpreted a number of ways, are Ariadne, a weaver of dreams, and the Labyrinth card. There's quite a lot of changes within the minors also. For example, the aces are renamed Key, which I think is a beautiful idea of what will help us unlock the potential of each suit. The suits themselves have also been renamed so that we have arrows for wands, which I think works well. It speaks of focused intent and having an effect on the world beyond yourself. We have roses for cups, which certainly speaks of love and other emotions, because you could have white roses for purity, red roses for passion, and of course roses have thorns for pain. We have quills for swords, so the pen is mightier than the sword, and I love the little detail of the quill tip design to her crown. And we have oaks for pentacles, speaking of small seeds that grow into large, abundant trees that manifest things. As you can see in these last few cards, we have kings and queens for each suit, but after that the minors also change. For example, the Page of Wands is the messenger, and the Knight of Wands is the archer. They lose their titles entirely, just having key words or titles that are to do with what they do rather than a hierarchical position, which I think is a really nice touch. So the Page of Cups becomes the Muse, and the Knight of Cups becomes the Bard. The Page of Swords is the Oracle, and the Knight of Swords is the Alchemist. The Page of Pentacles becomes the Steward, and the Knight of Pentacles becomes the Builder. As for the pips, these are semi-illustrated. However, I think that they manage, through the fact of colour and composition, to still be very expressive. We get that sense of a structure and a celebration with the 4 of arrows, and of conflict and fire, and being at cross purposes with the 5, success with the 6, and so on. A barred door for the 10 gives a very different feel to the traditional 10 of arrows, and yet speaks still of burdens, feeling locked into what you're doing. The Roses cards are beautiful in the way that they use different colours to really create variety and a sense of movement and a lot of room for interpretation. What does a wilting flower mean as opposed to bright and sunny yellow and pink? As you can see, there's a great variety in the colours here. Spiritual pure white leading up to the star. 9 of roses in a perfect happy wreath. And all the 10s have doors, but they have a very different feel to them. Likewise, the quills offer us the idea of messages, how to express ourselves, and they also come in a variety of colours, which give subtlety and depth to potential interpretations. Altogether, I think this is a really beautiful, quite different deck that opens up a lot of different possibilities. I find it very easy to read with, and I love the warm colours. You can find this deck at incidentaltarot.com, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing it. Please come back again soon, and in the meantime, listen to your own inner whispers.